What if events went differently in Spider-Man Homecoming? What if Spider-Man had the Venom Symbiote? Imagine a variant world where some of the events had unfolded differently. What could this mean for Tom Holland's Peter Parker and his role as Spider-Man in the MCU? Welcome back, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, to the symbiote saga of events. You may have seen part 1 of What if Spider-Man had the symbiote in Captain America Civil War. You need to watch that part if you haven't already, but I'm continuing with part 2. Before we begin this mega event, I would like to promote the merch store. Starting right now, you can get the complete Symbiote Saga merch that is on sale right now. From this one, Symbiote Homecoming, all the way to No Way Home. Get these exclusive designs this month for March before it's gone. It will only be available for March. I'm also doing Spider-Man 4 to 10 hoodies. If you want to be the first one to get them before they're gone, right now is your chance. Promo codes will be listed on my socials, on the Facebook group, Reddit, Discord, Instagram, and more. That being said, let's dive into part 2 of Tom Holland's Symbiote Saga storyline. In this reality, Wanda causes a rift between realities, and this leads to the invasion of the Venom symbiote into Peter's universe. Peter now has Venom, and he is the newest member of the Avengers. How would the existence of Venom in this reality affect the natural course of events? Join me and watch what happens. Peter was having the best time of his entire life. Peter walked with a spring in his step, as he had been looking forward to this day for months. Tony Stark had informed Parker that would be compatible with Venom. Peter could not wait to try it on, as he was practically running to Stark Industries headquarters. Peter had gotten a job as an intern, but it was all a cover-up for his superhero duties. As Peter made his way to Stark's building, he could not help but reminisce about all that had happened to him in such a short period of time. So much had changed, he muttered to himself. Immediately after the war between Tony and Captain America, Peter had been introduced as an Avenger to the world. Peter had insisted that he be introduced as Venom, but Tony decided that it would be too cheesy, and that he should call himself Spider-Man instead. The people had gotten to love him instantly. Even J. Jonah Jameson's mouth had been closed shut. What about me? Venom asked in Peter's mind. Sometimes Peter forgot that Venom could still do that. Read his thoughts. Venom was right though. Their bond had really grown stronger. Venom had gotten to know Peter's preferences much better, and it reflected in their outward appearance. When they transformed, they now took on a more streamlined body structure, as opposed to the bulky and muscular form that Venom formerly looked. Peter also found out that he was much faster and stronger. When they transformed too, Peter could develop spikes and sharp pointy things from his fingers, and other parts of his body, even though Venom told him that it was not a new thing. Peter was just grateful for Venom. But the only downside was that he became much more of a loner, and he also quit the school's decathlon team. Ned, his best friend, was now very distant because Peter hardly ever had time for him because of his new superhero duties. Peter also struggled to keep Venom in line. Venom always wanted to eat the brains of any humans they encountered. Peter could not count how many times he had to say no to Venom for eating Aunt May's brains. Peter felt that he could not hold him any longer from killing and eating bad guys, until he had discovered chocolate. Peter started consuming large amounts of chocolate, and this did not help his current stand with Aunt May, who thought he was losing it as he kept talking to himself. The chocolates had worked for a while, but now Venom was tired of them. The picture of them almost eating up a bandit was still fresh in Peter's mind. It was at that point that Peter had decided that he needed help. It had taken all of his willpower to stop Venom from biting off the bandit's head. Peter finally told Tony, and fortunately, he had a solution. Tony Stark had deduced Venom needed phleanthemine, to survive, since his body did not provide an adequate supply of it. Tony had quickly assured Peter's fears by telling him that he was already working on a symbiotic nanotech suit for him, and that was what he was going to try out today. Peter finally arrived at Stark headquarters, and he heaved a sign of marvel. Going to the headquarters countless times had done nothing to subtract the awe Peter felt for the place. With a prayer that everything would turn out well, Peter went inside the facility. Everything went well, very well. Tony Stark was proud of his intellect, as he had started creating a new suit that would be compatible with Peter and Venom once he had received a sample. And one of them was the philanthropy deficiency. Tony knew that the chocolate could do something, but further testing proved that Venom would at some point need to consume brains. Tony became very suspicious of Peter after that discovery, and he closely monitored him. Tony, through a fly drone and some street cameras which had been hacked to always keep an eye on Parker, saw when he wanted to eat the bandit's head, he had almost taken action. Thankfully, Peter had stopped Venom at the last moment and reported his issue to him immediately. Tony then revealed to him that the new Spider-Man suit he was creating, the suit would solve Venom's problem, as Tony Stark, using the regenerative powers of Venom, added an unfinishing supply of chemicals into the suit. Tony Stark had not told Peter this, but he had been creating an Iron Man suit too, from the symbiote as well as other suits. Tony had been obsessed with the many possibilities that the symbiote properties possessed. It could be the cure for cancer and other terminal diseases he had thought about. The only issue that the symbiote had was compatibility, and Tony was working on breaking the barrier. Tony had also discovered that the symbiote could reproduce, and when it did, the offsprings were much stronger, and then compatibility issues were decreased. Several jars of symbiote filled Tony's lab, and several failed symbiote suits too. "I better dispose of you," Tony said, as he looked at the failed symbiotic suits. The symbiotes used in creating them were too aggressive, and Tony could not have that. "Jarvis, start the test run for specimen 106, please," Tony said to his AI. Jarvis carried out the test run, and Tony could see the actual process via Hall projections. After a lot of suspense, the test run came out as 12% chance of success and survival, and Tony cursed under his breath. "Stay positive," he muttered under his breath, looking at the bright side. At least Peter's suit was a huge success, Tony said to himself. Clearing his mind of the failed cure for cancer, the test run, Tony comforted himself in the fact that Peter's suit turned out alright. Tony was proud of the kid, and he was glad that he invited him into the Avengers, but lately, he was very cautious. Peter had started acting overconfident, and Tony knew firsthand the effect it could have on a hero. As Stark thought about it, he was more than happy that he had to put some necessary security measures in Peter's suit. Peter did not think his life could get any better, but it did. It certainly did. The suit was awesome, and Venom loved every bit of it. The only downside was the pain that Peter felt during the testing process. Peter had put on the suit, and Venom had merged with it. Almost instantly, Peter felt like all his cells were on fire, and the nanobots entered into his bloodstream. Along with Venom, it merged with him. When the process was done, Peter could immediately tell that it was worth the pain. When Peter summoned Venom's suit, it covered his former Spider-Man suit, with its logo and all. Peter also discovered that Tony had added new tech with the help of Venom's symbiotic properties that allowed him to literally walk on buildings, opposed to the former wall crawling. The suit was pretty awesome, and Peter felt stronger than ever. Venom was no longer nagging about not eating brains because of the solution that Tony added, and it was good too to be true for Peter Parker. "Hey, I don't nag," Venom said in mocking anger. "Yes you do," Peter replied. "No, I don't." Peter signed as he knew that it was pointless arguing with Venom. I don't think anything can spoil my day, Peter thought. And then he quickly regretted it as he hoped that he had not just jinxed his luck. I don't believe in anything like that, Venom retorted. Peter signed again as he quickly cleared all of his thoughts as he realized that he was going to be late for dinner. Peter did a little run-up, then he leaped off the side of a building he was currently on. Peter immediately transformed into the Venom Symbiote midair, and he shot a web out which caught onto another story building. Within a few moments, a very happy Peter was swinging through the city on his way home. Peter quickly snuck through the room in his window, and the Venom Symbiote withdrew from him, revealing his body. "It is good to be home," Peter said. As Peter turned around, he discovered that his best friend was at his back the whole time, watching him with his mouth agape. "Maybe there is something like jinxing your good luck after all," Venom said, in mocking laughter. "Shut up," Peter said out loud in response to Venom, but Ned thought that it was directed to him. "I'm sorry, please don't kill me," Ned said as he raised his two hands above his head. No, I didn't mean it like that, Ned," Peter said, as he signed in frustration. Ned quickly got over his surprise and started bombarding Peter with questions about how he got his powers and why he didn't tell him sooner. Ned also deduced that the powers were obvious, what had promoted Peter's recent strange behaviors at school. Him quitting the decathlon team and distancing himself from Ned. Peter calmed Ned down after many trials and promised to answer his questions, only if he promised not to tell no one. Ned quickly agreed and Peter started to spill. "You might want to sit down and brace tight for this one," Peter told Ned, before he started narrating his story from the beginning. Ned had not yet recovered from the shock. What made it worse was when Peter revealed Venom to him. Venom had told Ned that he looked like his brains would have tasted delicious, but he was not into eating brains anymore. Venom's statement had not necessarily made Ned uncomfortable, or better. Peter knew that it was a lot to process for Ned, and he had given him a lot of time to think about it. Ned had really thought about it, but now, he felt more amazed than shocked. His best friend was Spider-Man. Ned only wished that he could tell other people that his best friend was Spider-Man, or now, the black-suited Spider-Man. But unfortunately, he couldn't. Peter had sworn to him to secrecy, even though he did not understand why. If Ned was Venom, he would have let everyone know. Ned had to let it slip during their gym time that Peter knew Venom, and now they got invited to Liz's party. Liz was Peter's longtime crush, and Ned hoped that Peter Parker would be able to summon courage and at least talk to her. Ned had given Peter a solution on how to get her to date him, but quickly discarded it. He told Peter to tell Liz his secret identity, but Parker was having none of it. "Just look at how your connection to Venom got us a party invitation," Ned had argued, and even Venom seemed to concur with him. Venom thought he was too awesome to be kept hidden. Peter just swatted aside the idea and paid them no mind, and Ned quickly let the topic die. "I am best friends with Venom," Ned muttered with a boyish grin as he prepared to go out for the party. Peter Parker acted like the decision to reveal his identity to Liz had not tempted him to, and Ned, but he could not hide anything from Venom, who had been tormenting him since they left school. "For the upteen time, I'm not going to do it," Peter screamed, as Aunt May walked out of the living room with a concerned look on her face. Peter signed as he knew the scenario would not help calm down Aunt May's suspicions. The innocent also seemed to calm down Venom. Peter felt very tired of the whole situation and decided to clear his head, and he knew just the thing to cheer him up. Within a few minutes, Parker was swinging through the city of Queens, patrolling the city for any criminal activity. The crime rate of Queens had drastically reduced, particularly after Venom almost ate the bandit. Peter deduced that the bandit had shared his tales with the crime underworld, and they were all scared of him. Peter Parker had been swinging through the city, and he had only stopped 3 petty robberies, and he was bored. Peter wanted to try out his new suit, wanted to test out the limits. Suddenly, Peter saw a bright light shining, and he secretly hoped it was a crime scene. His hopes were true. It was a crime scene. It had taken Peter some time to get to the scene because there was no buildings to swing by. Spider-Man quickly improvised and leaped through the trees. Peter saw men trading what he discovered were Jatari weapons behind the back of a van with a gangster. Peter knew that they were Jatari weapons because of his time spent at Stark Labs. Finally, Venom smiled as they prepared to attack. Suddenly, Peter's phone rang as Ned was trying to call him for the party. The sound quickly got the attention of the arms dealers, and they became guarded. Venom decided that it was time to strike, and without wasting a second, he did. There were no match for Venom as he tore through their ranks. Venom had the element of surprise, and he went first for the gangsters. Venom leaped and gave him a roundhouse kick, knocking him out cold. Venom then turned his attention to the other dealers of the arms. He planted a kick on one's chest and sent him flying into the van. Venom's spidey sense quickly alerted him, and he jumped out of the way as one of the dealers fired an energy beam from one of the Jatari weapons. Spider-Man dodged the beam easily, and he landed in front of the shooter and morphed his hand into a blade and slashed the gun while he punched the holder, who crumbled on the floor. As Venom went to retrieve the other dealer from the van, his spidey sense went haywire, but he was not fast enough. The dealer, who was called the Shocker, punched Venom with a Jatari gauntlet, and its electrical powers blasted Venom into a tree. Peter was dazed, but not for long. When he got back his senses, he discovered that the dealers had entered the van and they were fleeing. Venom immediately webbed the gangsters to the tree to ensure they didn't escape, and he ran after the Jatari weapons dealer's van. There were still no high buildings to provide leverage for Spider-Man to swing, but he improvised and started chasing after the van. Peter was once again thankful for Venom as the symbiote provided him with extreme speed and unlimited stamina. The weapon dealers saw Venom gaining on them, and one of them, who blasted Venom to a tree, started shooting him with an Ultron blaster gun. Venom's reflexes were fast, and he dodged all of the shots. The Shocker was getting desperate, and he threw the gun at Venom. Venom slapped it out of his sight as it exploded when it impacted a building. But Venom did not care. He was rageful. The Shocker had thrown the weapon at Venom as a distraction, and without giving Venom a chance to react, he threw a grenade at him. The grenade exploded on Venom's body, and it blew him apart. The Shocker gave a shout of joy as the van kept on driving. The dealers both thanked the universe for their lives after the close encounter with Spider-Man. When they noticed a shadowy figure flying above them, it was their boss, the Vulture, and Bryce. The Shocker was surprised by his appearance. "I had already phoned the boss, Herman Schultz," told the Shocker. Jackson Bryce, who was immediately furious. "I had it under control," he said, when suddenly they felt a weight land on their van, and within a split second, the van was capsized and thrown to a story building. The result was devastating as the van exploded with all of the Jatari weapons in it, which caused a massive explosion that affected most of the buildings around it. Venom stood, heaving in anger. The grenade had almost killed him, if not for Venom's healing properties and Tony Stark's suit, which offered some protection of fire to Venom. As soon as he started regenerating, Venom had made off in pursuit of the van, and he had already been the one who had thrown it to the building. "No!" a voice above wailed, and Venom saw a winged creature circling the sky. The creature quickly took off, and Venom followed in pursuit. None of you are getting away, Peter and Venom decided, as they figured that this was the most fun they had had fighting crime since the Avengers Civil War. Spider-Man and Vulture wreaked havoc in the town. Their pursuit had been going on for a while now, and the town was bearing the brunt of it. Venom had not been able to catch Vulture, but the chaos gave him thrills. Vulture had been shooting plasma beams at Venom, but he easily dodged all of them. Peter Parker knew he had to find a way to capture Vulture, as even he was getting tired, and suddenly he had an idea. Venom knew webbing Vulture wouldn't work, as he had tried it and failed severely, so he tried another plan. Peter Parker was approaching two huge buildings. They were opposite of each other, and he shot out one web from his wrist, while he ran backwards, stretched and leaped. This action resulted in a huge leap, and Venom landed on a very startled Vulture. When Venom landed, he wasted no time as he cut off his wings, and this made Vulture crash, fortunately, into a river that was below them. Venom did a backflip and landed by the bank of the river. "It is finished," Venom hissed. Suddenly, Tony Stark arrived as Iron Man, and Venom was glad to see him, as he expected approval and praise from him, but he got the exact opposite. Iron Man showed him how his reckless actions had caused multiple tragedies in the city, and how he had put multiple lives at risk. Fortunately, nobody is dead, but there are severe injuries. Tony barked at Peter. Tony told Peter that he was not ready to be an Avenger, and that he was going to take the suit away from him, along with Venom. "That's impossible," Peter said. "No, it's not. I added in a feature in the suit. I can lock up Venom and the suit within you with just a command," Tony said as he gave the command. Peter's life was miserable. Venom had been silent since Tony gave the command. Peter still felt Venom's presence, but it was as if a wall had literally been placed between the two. The only person that comforted him was Ned. Tony had also released a statement to the public that stated that Spider-Man was no longer an Avenger, and it broke Peter Parker, as he could not even go out on the streets again as Spider-Man. Worst of all, Vulture's body was not found. Ned convened Peter to go out to the homecoming dance, as it would help him take his mind off things, and Ned had miraculously set up a date with Liz. As Peter stepped out of his house, he sincerely hoped that the day would go as perfectly as he thought, but he had sadness within himself, as he knew that Venom would probably have a retort to that. Peter's night had gone nothing like planned. Peter had discovered that Toombs, Liz's father, was actually Vulture, via the family portrait. Peter had then sneaked into Toombs' personal study. When he discovered his plans, he was shocked. Liz had told Parker that her father had no love for Venom after the day of the bombing, because the fire destroyed his business, and now everything made sense to Peter. From what Peter saw, after thwarting Vulture's plans and destroying most of his Jatari weapons, he had received info of awesome and deadly symbiotic suits at Stark Labs. Peter saw the plans Toombs had done to steal the suits, and he knew it would work. The plan was ingenious. Parker knew he had to do something, so he ditched Liz and donned his homemade Spider-Man suit to go and thwart Toombs' plans. He didn't go there as Venom, but he went there as Spider-Man. Peter tried calling Tony, but it went straight to voicemail. But he told himself everything nonetheless as he made his way to the facility. Spider-Man was too late. Toombs had gotten the suit, and now he wore one. "I am Carnage," he shouted, as he finished merging with one of the symbiotic suits. The suit then created large knives that formed wings, and Toombs smirked. "That's more like it," he said. Carnage quickly lunged at Spider-Man, and Peter did not stand a chance. This was Vulture, bonded with the Carnage symbiote. Within minutes, Peter laid sprawled on the floor. Toombs went to unmask Spider-Man, when suddenly Venom had emerged. Peter felt the barrier between him and Venom break, and deduced that Tony must have finally heard his message, and he unlocked Venom in his suit. Parker quickly kicked Carnage's legs from under him and got to his feet. You will pay for all you have done," Toomes screamed at Venom, as he realized that he was truly Spider-Man. Vulture, or Carnage now, leaped and flew straight at Venom as he braced for impact, but the hit never came. Instead, Venom heard the screams of pain. What Peter saw was a freak show, even by Venom's standards, as it looked as if the suit was literally consuming Toomes. Only later did Peter find out that what had happened was the suit not being compatible with Toomes' body. After some agonizing seconds, Toomes' body exploded and he died. Peter was currently on top of his Queens high school building, and he was doing some deep reflection. It had been 2 weeks after the incident with Carnage, and everything was sort of back to normal. Liz and her mom had moved from Queens to distance themselves from the grief, and Peter's heart had shattered when she told him. Tony had forgiven Peter, but he stated that he judged Peter too early, and that he would have to work his way back into the Avengers. Peter didn't mind that. In fact, Peter preferred it, as he wanted to focus more on himself and try and become a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. "I don't like the term friendly, but I'll try it," Venom said reluctantly. Peter laughed, as his separation from Venom made him appreciate the relationship, and he grew more fonder of the symbiote. "Let's go and save some people," Peter said, as Venom emerged and suited up. Together, they swung through the city. And that is going to be What If Spider-Man Had the Venom Symbiote in Spider-Man Homecoming. What If Peter Parker Had the Venom Symbiote is a really interesting storyline, especially for Peter having the symbiote suit in the MCU. It really goes and shows what could have been. I think it was very interesting having Adrian Toomes become Carnage at the very end. It was a little nod to the PS1 game where the final boss is actually Monsterog, so it's something that I really wanted to do for the ending, but also I wanted to make it original, and I wanted to make it very different from the original Spider-Man Homecoming storyline. So that being said, what did you think of part 2 to the Symbiote MCU saga? That being said, do make sure to check out my Patreon, as I have a bunch of brand new tiers happening right now that's starting at $1. If you have a request that you want to be made into a video, I will make that request happen. You can skip the line, you can get the video, you can check out that tier. It's very interesting. And I also want to say, check out the exclusive merch. I said this at the beginning of the video, but I cannot help but say this again. The merch is exclusively happening for the month of March. Once it's gone, it's gone. It's not coming back. I got some very interesting symbiote designs, such as Symbiote Homecoming, Civil War, Infinity War, as well as Spider-Man 4 through 10. So that series will be coming out soon. But anyways, as always, make sure to follow the socials, and I'll see you in the next fanfiction video. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. Peace out.